Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Concept Books. In this episode, we talk about the value of time. I know what happened was there was an experience that happened to me that basically gives a very good example of this and as to why how important time is and how important choosing the best use of your time can really, if you're a person who want to get more money or such like that or something else, can really t- double your double your money or 10x your money or basically do the opposite or do the opposite where basically lessens your money or such. So, back again we're doing the 9 to 5 experience, and what happened is that you have the compens. So I was doing the training in the new department for the new for the for yeah for the new department. So I was moved to the new department. And what happened it was that due to the fact that I was actually being with the company from the old department, they propose a new compensation where basically you get an attendance bonus, where basically if you actually reach there on time, you basically you do the full 80 hours and then perfect attendance, you basically get the bonus. But it's either all or nothing. You basically miss a lunch break, if you come late from lunch or break or or go late to work, you basically lose it. So it's basically all or nothing. So if you listen to the first part, when I was at the old department, I think that has been always been an issue due to the fact that where I'm coming from. But I have more experience coming to this era, but it still was not perfect. So even though for a while, well, I did not actually get those compensation. But then a week came now when actually was working towards it. And the thing about it is that I was more prepared this time, but as I said, there was minor things, minor inconvenience just always came in the way that either made me late by a minute or such this time around, or I basically let me have to miss something. There was just some minor convenience in the first few weeks. Then one of the week now, when I was actually doing well to actually get it, then if you listen to the episode, you realize that the last day, the Friday, I was basically going to work, reaching on time, but to reach on time, and then what happened was the car, the taxi, the tire actually fell off, and I almost reached late because of that. So basically, what that would basically, if because I reached my pay was to basically doubled that cycle, but because of something randomly out of my control that I could not make up, you could not make that up. That would have basically made me miss out on that for no reason at all. For basically no reason at all. Something out of my control. So that's basically how the value, that's basically giving you a value of time. The preparation that you make can basically either double your money or or less your money. That's how valuable time is, especially in the business world or anywhere. That's how valuable time is. So the next thing that basically do it again to basically propose the value of time. So that was that first week and I got it. So the week after, which would be the next 2 weeks after, which would technically be like my last week there. Well, not my last week there. No, it would be the second. So it would be the next 2 weeks, and then the week after that would be my last week at the department. So the next 2 weeks, I could have actually gotten that bonus again. But what happened was there was some important issue that I had to deal with at the bank. There was something that I wanted to. There was something that I was supposed to collect because I was approved for it. But every but what happened was that the place that I said they were told me to go collect it, it closes by the time I leave work and reach at that place. So my work would have ended at 4:40, and then by the time I reach there, it would be like way up after 5 or 6, and it closes at 5. So I couldn't, no matter, and it closes on the weekend. So there's no way I could actually get to reach that place to actually check for the item. So it was a very big dilemma, very big dilemma. So what happened was that I was saying, what happened was I was trying to consider to see, okay, what I was going to do was because I kept calling and they keep telling me that it's at the place. So what I decided that I was going to do was just basically, so no, what happened was, so that was not really one of the issue, but the next issue was, if you realize one of the week, a fraud, a fraud or a scam. I fell for one of the scams. So basically, what happened was that I left go at the bank there and actually deal with that before my card was compromised, before the pay actually came in to my account. So because I did had to do with that, I missed that day. I basically had to just forfeit that bonus as well. Forfeit that bonus as well. And then the next thing that happened was, as I said, I went to the bank again. Well, no, I actually left early to try to go to the area where I was approved for the stuff, and then just in attempt to see if I could actually get the item because they told me it was there. Went there, it was not there. So those two things basically prevent me from basically doubling my money. And going through that experience, I realized that in the working world, adult life, is just these lot of simple things that basically cause a normal working person just go from making some progress to go back to living paycheck to paycheck. It's those simple stuff like this random stuff, and it made me realize that the value of time, you know, in within science, within normal life, is really important. And the thing about it that the longer you don't realize the value of your time, the longer you won't get the benefit of it. So there was, like, for example, compound interest. Most of these stuff that I'm doing now is stuff that I could not do when I was actually younger. But what happened is that I never have the knowledge of it back then, and even when I got the knowledge, I was not in the capacity to do it, take advantage of it as yet, as I was not at that threshold. But no, I'm at that threshold, and basically, I'm actually doing it and trying to unlock those stuff. I know my perspective on doing it now is that I'm just basically, if you listen to my breaking curses episode, I'm trying to break as much of the cycles as possible, so that given that I'm starting having a younger me or something like that, or if you, the listener, listen to the podcast, you're basically starting off with a head start than me. You're starting off with a head start. So that's basically the thing, because what happens is that lots of reason why human resources don't progress is because of these hiccups. The barrier to the progress is really high. So, I'm just trying to break down those barriers for myself. And in turn, it could break down for a lot of people as well. But the next thing is, so what those two experience um kind of just made me realize was that in the in making getting rich or such, your time is really way more important than the money. Like like to put it in perspective, if you basically take in a bus and you have like 50 passengers on that bus and all of them pays a bus fare, and you have the bus the bus driver making like basically $100 off each of those passengers. He makes a lot of money right there, like a lot of money right there. But each passenger individually, by based on his ability to actually transport the passenger from point A to point B on time, would actually determine the return on investment of each of those passengers, and then the return of investment for him as well. What I mean is that you, if the just like my situation where where the me reaching on time would double my money. There's every day you're basically going on a bus passenger. There could be a person in that same situation where basically them reaching on time basically guarantee them something, a better compensation, a better work on their job. Or it could be a little kid like me. When I was going to school, I usually reach school every day early. And what that me reaching to school early every day resulted in me basically absorbing a lot of more information in the school period, and less likely to actually need to actually study when I go home. So actually be able to actually have more fun when I'm home. Yeah, but me going to school early, you cause a return investment on an education now in the long run. And for me, it was one of those things where you realize that your time is valuable and you can use your time in many different scenarios. Very, but back to my opportunity cost episode as well. You have to actually be able, when you understand the value of your time, then you can actually make those life or death decisions, or well, not technical life, but it's like the, the money play. Like you can properly evaluate a salary. That's what you can do with the value of your time. You can properly evaluate that. Say, okay, this person is offering me this. Ideally, I want this, but I can actually use this amount of money to actually kickstart a lot of stuff, because I know the value of my time. I know to actually use the time to because I know the value of my time. I can use my time to leverage this money that they're giving me now to do this. So that's, and then boom, because you're leveraging your time, then over time, then you can actually parlay that into a bigger salary, because you understand the value of that before the money. So that's the core. So, that's the thing where that's the thing I'm just always keep on gonna preach, like health, money, health, time, and money. It's like it just always come to that. No matter how high you go, it just always come to that, and it the value of each, you just always in find different scenarios to see how each is important. See how each is important, and you always want to maximize your time. Doing the 9 to 5 it was one of the worst things ever because you're basically stuck at that place for basically 8 hours and you can't do nothing outside of that work. Even when you're not doing nothing at the work, outside of the work. So that's basically time. And there were days where you have like slow days where you're basically not doing nothing for like a portion of the time. And then you're basically just have to just sit there and wait for the next task to be done. And there are certain situations where it seems like what was being done was like those downtime where you're not actually doing any work. They were basically, I'm not sure, but it were. It seemed like what happened was that you weren't being paid, so it was not being. So when you started, it was basically time compensation. If you work the 8 hours, you get a certain thing. But that, it seems that what I was seeing was that you basically got charged on phone time or like the working time instead when you started to work, where the time where you actually was doing a work, they actually accumulate that and then boom, that's how you got paid. So you may be there for 8 hours, but then you were only doing like 6 hours worth. You were doing like only 7 hours or such worth of work because 1 hour you were basically not getting anything. There was no work to be done. There's like those situations where that could have basically that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And the thing about it is that you're losing and then you're you're losing it and then you're not able to do anything productive personally for yourself. It's just one of those things where we're like, yo, time is really valuable. Time is really valuable. You have to actually know how valuable it is. And then not only that, understand that the world will always try to actually waste your time. And you have to be smart enough to know how to actually properly waste, use your time to say, okay, it's going to waste my time, but I'm going to actually get some benefits out of this. And like this podcast could be a waste of your time as well, but you can actually get something from it as well. So that's the thing about this world. This world, there's a lot to learn, lot to learn. But this was something that happened to me, and because of that, um, I know how to properly leverage my time to increase my money worth in the working world, in my personal life. So that was something that I just want to impart on you on this podcast episode as well. That's basically for this episode. Thank you for listening and look forward for the next episode.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
Learning taxes, because doing this 9 to 5, and what happened was seeing the taxes being removed from my pay, you know, and normally, or you, what happened is that, um, when you usually hear about taxes, there usually be a negative connotation towards it because it'll be like, the government's taking my money and all those stuff. And when I worked hard for it, that's the normal connotation. So it's just one of those things where, you know, when it's taken, it feels that way. It feels frustrating. But the next thing is, when election comes around, when election comes around, and then all these big proposals and all those stuff.